But as we will be waiting for others to join us, I think I should just give us a brief recap of what we discussed the last time. That should be 2 weeks ago. Yes, 2 weeks ago, we had the episode one of Revamp Podcast. So if you're just joining in or you're seeing me for the first time, I am Shola Obadimu. And then I'm happy to see you. I'm happy to welcome you to Revamp Podcast. So this podcast comes up twice a month, first and third Tuesday of every month. Actually, this month is the first episode. Yes, this month is the first episode. But 2 weeks ago was the first episode, precisely. Why this is the second episode, but this month was the first time we're having this podcast. So once again, welcome and God bless you to Revamp Podcast. And what is this podcast about? What is this podcast about? It's all about discussing the matters that matter to God and you. Yes, we'll be discussing what matters to God and you. I tell you the truth, there are a lot of things that matters to God and you that we are going to be looking at. And just for information's sake, you can uh, maybe after this podcast, after this session, you can go and check the first session we had, and I can assure you, you're going to enjoy it. You're going to be blessed because a lot was unraveled, a lot of revelations were shared. So a lot. And then in the first episode, we spoke about um, the genesis of life's problem. Yes, the genesis of life's problem. A lot is currently happening in our world, and before we start making attempts to solve them, it is highly important for us to know the genesis of these challenges. How the most of the problems we have in our world, how did they get to, how did they actually started? So it's important we get to know this. The book of Genesis is a very interesting book. By the grace of God, by 10:15 p.m., I'm going to be starting what we have for tonight. So I'm just giving this as a kind of preamble. Perhaps we can get one or two people to join us. So, like I was saying, the book of Genesis is a very instructive book, very, very instructive book. It's a book that contains um, all the fact about life's occurrences. Yes, it contains all the fact about life occurrences. So it's a book that is very enlightening. If you can understand the book of Genesis, you're going to understand life. Yes, if you can understand the book of Genesis, you're going to understand the reason why things happen in today's world. In preparation for tonight's podcast, I I gave a write up. I shared it on my Facebook and of course in the community here on YouTube. And then I want to just read it for you so that you're gonna see what I'm talking about. Because as I study the book of Genesis, I started seeing a lot of things. Sorry, I started seeing a lot of things. Excuse me. So as I studied the book of Genesis, I began to see a couple of things that were enlightening, and I was blown away by the things I was seeing in that book. That book is a powerful book. It's a book that explains the mystery of today's world. So let me quickly just read through. We have 5 more minutes, then we start to right away. So recently, in my diligent study of the book of Genesis, I found out that there is more to that book than what many people know, especially Christians. Now, I discovered that to succeed in anything in life, you will have you have to have a major understanding of this book. That's the book of Genesis, and either directly or indirectly, because all the secret to prosperity and greatness are embedded in this book. And then I want to believe you recall that this podcast, um, title for it is the principle of dominion. Yes, the principles of dominion. So, like I was saying, there's rarely anything happening in the world today that can be traced down to the book of Genesis. Perhaps you stumble on this live session. Any mystery at all happening in today's world is traceable to, is traceable to the book of Genesis. Yes, so if you stumble on this post, I just want to urge you to go back to this book and then, um, excuse me. Okay, so I just want to go back to this book and begin to study it diligently. So you're going to be blown away. So let me show you how the world was programmed in Genesis. Let me show you how virtually most of the happenings in our world today are the result of the words, prophecies, and oaths that were enacted in Genesis, some of which may never change till Jesus comes. It's not a coincidence that the Bible started with that book called Genesis. Now, let me show you how the slavery Africans went through was prophetic. I did spoke a lot about that in the first episode, and how the first and third world nations were created in Genesis, and then let me show you how the right ecosystem, habitat, and diet that aids longevity and health was given, and how nations who are there to eat till now are living better than those who don't. Yes, the ecosystem, the habitat, the environment that aids longevity. I mean, when you read the book of Genesis, the Bible says that God created Adam in a garden. Yes, we call it the Garden of Eden. So I think the right question should be, why a garden? But I mean, I wouldn't know where you're watching from. But the question is, where you're living. Are you are you living in a garden? Yes. Do you live in a garden? But biblically, and as seen in the book of Genesis, that is where man is expected to live. I think I spoke about that too in the first episode. So okay, then let me show you why war would not end in this world, because the destiny of the Arabs had been settled in Genesis. Wars will never end till Jesus comes. Yes, because in the book of Genesis 16, that was when Sarai sent Agar away, and the angel of the Lord, which was actually the Lord, appeared to her and was giving her the prophetic destiny of Ishmael, is her son. And the Lord told her that his hand will be on people and people's hand will be on him. He's going to be a restless person. And this is why the Arabs, they can't even live in peace with themselves. So everything happening in today's world is in the book of Genesis. So have been settled in Genesis, and as a result, they don't know how to live in peace with anyone, including themselves. So let me show you how polygamous families never enjoyed peace and rest, and why rival children born in those homes are often subjected by diabolical powers in order not to outperform others in life. I mean, these things still play out and they still happen till today. Yes, it happened between Sarah and Hagar. Sarah had to tell Abraham that this bond have been share this property with me. You have to send her and her child away. You have to tell her and her son away. It's still happening today. So I mean, if we would understand these things and learn from them, we will have less problem in today's world. So even if you have all the money and properties, once you're having more than one wife, you're even, let's assume, okay, when you're alive, your children, they did as if everything was fine. After your demise, there won't be peace because you will have properties. And by the time it's time to share it, problem, is not a surface. These things, everything happened in the book of Genesis. Let me show you the perfect template of choosing a wife or husband from the book, which guarantees bliss and happiness. Yes, from the book of Genesis. Yeah, in fact, two scenarios played out. Isaac's own was a perfect one. It was a perfect match. When Abraham called Eliezer his eldest servant, the story, Genesis chapter 24. In fact, it was a perfect story. Just go and read it. Uh, so Abraham told him to swear an oath that he was not going to pick a wife among the environment, among the people in the environment they lived in, which was Canaan. That he should go to his hometown to pick a wife. And the servant was saying, "How was this going to come to pass?" And he said, "The Lord will send his angel." So these are the biblical template to go about choosing the life partner. Another thing I see that is very interesting is that parents were much interested in who their son, especially, yes, who their son got married to then, because even in the same book of Genesis, it was Agar who chose a wife for Ishmael, a son. The book of Genesis is powerful. So let me show you the inception of the first five human dispensations and covenant that are still affecting our world. Our theology differs and our perspective varies. I have often asked this question: between Esau and Jacob, who was truly um, dubious between Esau and Jacob? Who was truly dubious between both of them? Yes, who? Was it Esau or Jacob? Yes, you want to say Jacob lied. He had a goat uh, skin on his hands, and when Isaac asked, "Who are you?" This is the voice of Jacob, but this is the hand of Esau. So obviously, and apparently, that was a dubious thing to do, because I mean, you impersonified another person. You're claiming you are someone else when you are not. But did you think, with what we read in the scripture, with the record we saw about the story, did you think Esau still had the right to that blessing? And one thing he said that baffled me, because when I read the Bible, I think, and I want to, I reason with it. He said that I think he's here. He said, that he said something that this is the second time that he had uh this is the second time that he had cheated him or something. But that was false. The first incident, when Jacob had a porridge and was eating, and he came in, he said, I mean, I worked for this thing. If you want it, sell your birthright. And I know that Jacob, I mean, Esau felt, what's the big deal in selling birthright? Okay, absolutely. He said, no, 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 no. You have to swear with the names of the God of our fathers. And he knew the magnitude and he saw. So what does that mean? Esau himself had already sold his birthright. So he was actually the first person who wanted to, probably he must have felt, Shebe, I just saw nothing will happen. At least my father still knows I'm the firstborn, and the blessing will still come to me. But he was actually a dubious person, because you had sold it. In fact, if in today's Christian world, what is expected of him to have done when Isaac called him is that, well, Dad, I know I'm the biological person, but I am not in the sight of God, because I had sold it by exchanging it to the porridge. But he didn't do that. So it was actually the dubious one, in my own view. Well, perhaps you have a contrary view. You can let us know. So, like I was saying, uh, so when he came back, this was the conversation that transpired between him and Isaac. He said, "And Isaac answered and said unto Esau, Behold, I have made him thy Lord, and all his brethren have I given to him for servant, and with corn and wine have I sustained him." See, you're going to get to know a lot. And then, "What shall I do unto thee, my son?" That is Genesis 27, verse 38. Then let's read, I mean, verse 27, verse 37. Then look at what verse 38 says. "And Esau said unto his father," I want to bring it up, this network, it is well with you tonight. So he said, "And Esau said unto his father, Hast thou but one blessing, my father?" I mean, it was just like, okay, fine, you have blessed him with corn and wine. Maybe it's just to say words. Just say that, okay, I bless you too. Does that mean spiritual graces and blessings? Uh, do they are they of a specific portion? Because what Isaac was the message Isaac was passing here is that you can't have two heads at the same time. Just like it's often said that you can't have two drivers in a car or in a bus, or two pilots in a plane, as in, I mean, piloting a plane at the same time, simultaneously, like we say. There has to be one head and another being a fourth. So Isaac is saying, the blessings that belong to the head I have given him. I can't fabricate another one. And Esau said unto his father, actually, um, his destiny has been sealed, like I said, the very first time he sold his birthright. That was the day he should have wept, not now. So he lifted up his voice and wept. So and Esau said unto his father, as thou but one blessing, my father, bless me even me also, O my father. And Esau lifted up his voice and wept. And look at verse 39. And Isaac his father answered and said unto him, okay. And Isaac his father answered and said unto him, behold, thy dwelling shall be the fatness of the earth. This place is very instructive. Behold, thy dwelling shall be the fatness of the earth, and of the dew of heaven, and of the dew of heaven from above. Listen, thy dwelling shall be the fatness of the earth, and of the dew of heaven from above. 27 verse 40 says, and by thy sword shalt thou live. Hmm. And by thy sword shalt thou live, and shalt serve thy brother. And it shall come to pass when thou shalt have the dominion, that thou shalt break his yoke from off thy neck. It shall come to pass when thou shalt have the dominion, thou shalt break the yoke from thy neck. Now, one thing, like I've said, is that is common with the two incidences that transpired in Genesis chapter 3 and Genesis chapter 9. And this is the thought, is blessing and cursing. In Genesis chapter 3, God cursed the head for man's sake and cursed the serpent. Then in Genesis chapter 9, from verse 18 to 27 or so, uh, Noah cursed the Canaan, the son of Ham, and he blessed Shem and Japheth. And this is the third time that we are seeing blessing and cursing. So here Isaac blessed um, Jacob and told him what was to befall, befall him, and he caused Jacob. I mean, he caused Esau, and gave him a solution. He said, "I've blessed your brother. You're going to serve him, but your dwelling will be the fatness of the earth and of the dew of heaven." And he said, "But the day you will have the dominion." The Message version uses the phrase, when thou shalt become restless, when you are fed up of your state, when you become restless, he said you will break the yoke from thy neck. So this means that the yoke was not meant to be permanent. It's conditional. So it means that if Esau became restless the second day, he could have broken the yoke the second day. If it's after 20 years he became restless, that is when he was going to break the yoke. So, what I just want you to know is this: there are mainly two races before God. We have the white race and the black race. I think I said that in the first episode. And one of the things this insinuates is this: the white race, just like we saw in Genesis chapter 9, received blessings, and the black race received curses. Please, I don't want you to misconcept or misinterpret what I'm saying. I'm just explaining biblical principles now. Now, Jacob told, Isaac told Esau, he said, uh, the ancestors of the white race carry blessing, while the ancestors of the black race carried curses. I said that. But there are provisions provided by God for us to change the narrative. But like I said earlier, we need to understand the basis of the problem we want to solve. So Esau said, even if you are blessed, my brother, I mean, is it only one blessing that is in your mouth? I mean, what is the big deal then? Just open your mouth and bless me too. But instead of blessing him, he just said in verse 39 that his geographical location, which today is the soil of Africa, will build the area that will have more of the fatness of the earth. This is why Africa has the largest mineral resources in the world and the dew of heaven, which is also a form of blessing. Africa has the highest number of mineral resources in the world, and this is why African countries like Congo, Nigeria, maybe we want to say Uganda, all those African nations that have or that are rich in mineral resources, they are currently still being exploited. Yes, they are currently still being exploited, and that's the truth. Yes, they are currently still being exploited. It is well. Most of these mineral resources are being sold to some of these Western countries. But I'm just trying to show us what transpired many years ago, millions of years ago, is still the reality as we speak today. Yes, it's still the reality as we speak today. So, but instead of him to stop there, he told him that his life would be sustained by toiling, and still ended it by saying he can't escape servitude. Yes, but the interesting thing is that he told him the solution. Look at what he said. And it shall come to pass when thou shalt have the dominion. Now, when is always a function of time, grammatically speaking. When thou shalt have the dominion. We don't know when it is, but the day you have the dominion, what happens? Thou shalt break his yoke from off thy neck. So, what is the solution to solving life's most difficult puzzle? It was our point of consideration in our first episode. So, what is the solution now? To break the yoke, to what is the solution? The solution is dominion. Yes, that's the solution. Yes, the solution is dominion, and it shall come to pass when thou shalt have the dominion, you will break the yoke off thy neck. So, here's the question: how and when do you want to have dominion? To solve this life most difficult puzzle, which we have seen, the following things must be in place. So now we want to go to the 7 things that must be in place for anyone to truly have dominion, for us to change the status quo, for us to manipulate some of these prophetic, utterances that took place and transpired back then in Genesis and that is currently playing out as we speak today. We must have the dominion. The dominion. That's why anything that has to do with dominion is a very important topic for everyone alive. Yes, it's a topic you should sit down with, you should listen, you should read about, you should pray about, because that is the solution to solving all of life's problem. That is the solution. When thou shalt have the dominion, you are going to break the yoke. You are going to break the yoke. So the point and the question is, how do we get dominion, or when do we want to get the dominion? So I'm going to be guiding and walking us through that very quickly. So the first thing here that I want to share with you is this: you need to embrace the life which is salvation, and the principles which are called the global laws of success of Jesus. Yes, Dr. Mike Murdoch did justice to this when he spoke about the life and the principles of Jesus. Unfortunately, many Christians only embrace the life of Jesus. And when we talk about the life, what do we mean? We're talking about, okay, being saved, being born again, paying your tithe, paying your offering, going to church, praying, and reading your Bible. So when Christians like that die, automatically and invariably, they're going to get to heaven because they have the life of Christ. But having said that, we also have the principles of Christ. And what's the principles of Christ? Every succeeding nation in the world today, every wealthy person, every great person, either deliberately or indeliberately, they are applying the principles of Jesus. Yes, they apply the principles of Jesus. There are a lot of principles that Jesus spoke and thought about during his days, that in fact there's nobody succeeding here on earth that is not applying the principles. Talk of diligence, it's part of the principles Jesus taught. Yes, he said, night comes when no man can walk. He said, I cannot but do the work of he that sent me while it is day. So diligence is one of the principles of Jesus. When you read the book of Matthew chapter 13, yes, Matthew chapter 13, when Jesus gave parables, the parables of the, is it the parable of the sower? No, I mean, he gave parables about the kingdom of heaven, the kingdom of God. You notice that in Matthew chapter 13, Jesus gave seven different parables just to paint the picture of what the kingdom of God looks like. And that is advertisement. He was advertising the same product in seven different ways. He said, how can I explain it again? He said, the kingdom of God is like this. You say, how can I explain it again? The kingdom of God is like this. So, what practical life lessons or principles can we deduce from that? It is the principle of consistency and persistency. Jesus didn't just give a parable to illustrate the kingdom of God and stop there. He gave another one. And you know why that was important and necessary. The reason was because out of those in the crowd, uh, there are some people that will grab the concept in the first illustration, and there are some that they will only get the concept, understand it as at the time he gave the fifth illustration. And there are some, it is the seventh illustration that would make sense to them. So, what does that mean? Maybe you started out in doing something, whatever it might be, and you made the attempt the first time and it didn't work. You made the attempt second time, you don't work the third time, and you felt, well, maybe this was not meant for me. No, it is meant for you. You have to continue the same thing in different ways. Try another means, try it another way, do it another way. These are principles that many Christians, they don't take cognizance of. So the principles of Jesus will guarantee success and dominion in life. So it's not enough to have the life of Jesus. It's very important that we have the laws, the success principles of Jesus. Now, all the white nations and races we have been talking about don't break the principles of dominion, and they don't joke with two things. All the white nations that we've been talking about, they don't joke with the principles of dominion. As seen in the life of Jesus, as seen in the scriptures. Recently I've been studying the book of Proverbs, and then I've been doing some research on biblical principles for prosperity. So anytime I see where the Bible spoke about, where the book of Proverbs spoke about the diligence, prosperity, blessing, poverty, I'm going to highlight it. So I've been compounding those lessons, and I've been learning a lot about it. See, the Bible is beyond. Yes, it's a spiritual book, but there's a lot if we are diligent and we open our eyes. There's a lot we can glean and learn from this book called the Bible. So in this same Bible are success principles that make for dominion. Yes, principles that make for dominion. So that is the first thing I want us to know. So why all these white nations doing well, they don't violate these laws, the laws that make for dominion. And secondly, they don't joke with R&D. What is R&D? Research and development. Research and development. For example, let me give you an example you can relate with. For example, I know someone. If he wants to buy a phone, any gadget, but let's just say a phone, he's going to take his time. He will start making research about that phone and the company that produces that phone. A minimum of 3, 4, 5 months to know all the details about the phone. And this is one of the things he does. He often uses gadgets that are not common, well known, but they are powerful. Why? Because of research. You see, the Western world, many times you just see them come up with something, they would have done research, they would have find out. These are principles, dominion principles, research and development. See, you should never get to a stage or a point in your life that you feel you have arrived. You must continuously develop yourself. And one of the things that will help you do that is you should even have development savings. Yes, savings that is meant for just your personal development. I think I listened or stumbled on an interview Um, what was it a post by Reverend Dr. Malpai? And I think he said his library is worth some hundreds of billions, is it million of billions? His library, just where he kept his books that he bought, hundreds of millions. That is what we are talking about development. At times when I speak to young people, at times I can't fathom it when you are a young person, you are alive. And for example, this is July. Since this year started, you've not read one book. You are not developing yourself. To you, you may feel, well, maybe you speak fluently, or maybe you're even a graduate, you're I mean, you're employed, right? You may feel you are fine, but you are not, because information expires every 18 months. Every 18-month information expires. What you know to be correct last year, by the time you bring it up now, you'll be amazed that another recent development and information has caught up with it. So you just need to be updated. As long as you're alive, you must continuously develop yourself, especially in the areas of your gifting, your field. What's the latest, the technology, information, development in that area? So this is one of the principles of dominion. Adhering strictly to the laws of dominion as given by Jesus, which we call the laws of Christ, the principles of Christ. Then investing in research and development. Personally, if I have maybe I have a speaking engagement, I don't just immediately I'm aware of it. One of the first thing I notice the Holy Spirit does to me is that you just start giving me ideas, speaking to me how to go about it. And apart from that, I will now go online many times on YouTube, many times I consult. Immediately my brain start working, start consulting this and this and that and that. Then I'll start making research about that topic. Yeah, research and development. Uh, I think First Corinthians chapter 8, verse it should be verse 2. It says, "If anyone thinks he knows anything, he does not know anything yet." Yes, the more you know, the more you know you don't know. As a matter of fact, currently in our world today, the highest level of education is Doctor in Philosophy, what we call PhD. But the day a man acquires a PhD degree, is actually the day that endorses the narrowness of his knowledge. So, what is now being declared and proclaimed as a doctor in a field of life. Imagine the millions of field of studies we have, where he's now an expert in just one field. What happens to the remaining field? So you just have to keep learning. I mean, we had a conference that should be last month, and I was telling our youth that you may not know everything, but you must know a bit of everything. A bit of medicine, a bit of law, a bit of relationship mind, a bit about investment, about politics, a bit about tech, a bit about you. I mean, everything that exists in this world, especially as a young person. You must know a bit. This is one of the things research and development will do to you. So one of the last time you did anything in the area of research or development, yeah, it's very important. This is why they are always the first to invent. I'm talking about the Western world now. They are always the first to invent, create, and know the latest information or thing that can make life better and easier. This is why, for example, the ideas that would rule the next decade and guarantees financial freedom has already been discovered. How? Through R&D. Now, this is a cheat code because I promised I was going to give this in this podcast. Maybe uh, after this session, you want to go to ChatGPT and just ask, give the 10 uh, prominent maybe jobs for the next decade. Now, when we're talking about the next decade, obviously the next 10 years. So this is 2025. By 2035, what are the first 10 job, profession, things that people will be doing that is likely to guarantee financial freedom in the next 10 years? Just this is an assignment I'm giving you. Just go and make a find this. and you see, it's going to bring it out to you. Now, the first question you should ask is, how was that information gotten? How did they arrive at that information? Research and development. They look at the trajectory and what is currently, towing and following. They look at the patterns currently, gaining ascendancy in our world as we speak. And calculatively, they could say that in the next 10 years, this is what is going to be trending. This is where a lot of people are going to be, you know, drifting towards. Now, here's the question. The Bible says, my people perish for lack of knowledge. How many Christians are aware and are doing something in that regard? How many Christians are aware and are doing something in that regard? How many are aware and are doing something in that regard? I'm going to give you a clue about that in the course of this podcast. So, number two thing that enhances dominion that you need to know is um, there is always a path to wealth in every generation. In every generation, there's always a path to wealth. In every generation or dispensation. Now, there was a time the path to wealth was agriculture and hunting. There was a time the path to wealth. Agriculture is still very sacrosanct and important, imperative, even in today's world. Yes, because we all have to eat. When I'm saying there was a time, that was the only path to wealth for you to be in agriculture, because that was the agrarian age. Yes, virtually every family was into agriculture. Yes, that was the agrarian age. Now, after that time, then it moved to industrial age. Now, you will notice that um, when a particular thing was invoked, let's say when the agrarian age was the ideal thing for everyone to venture into, they noticed that when they harvested their crops and their fruits, there was nowhere to keep them. So just imagine the first person that now felt, all these are harvested crops, they get rotten, there's no fridge, there's no place to preserve them. The first person that developed the solution to that problem, do you think he or she was going to be poor? Was going to be wealthy, because that was the problem that was giving everybody sleepless night at that time. So then that led to industrialization, industrial age. Yes, when they now started creating industries, to preserve the food, to package them, and the likes. So people who started that idea first obviously entered wealth. Yes, because they were more or less like monopoly. And of course, usually with time, everyone will start going into it and it's going to be balanced. But those who ventured into it first, they entered wealth. They entered wealth. Then after that time, industrialization age, then they of course they were doing butter and all those stuff. It got to a time they were like, this trade by barter thing does not work, and that led to another era. And those who were futuristic, who had calculated that with the way this thing is going, a time is coming, people will no longer be convenient, they will no longer, yes, be interested in carrying out their trade by barter. Some people, they they think ahead. They had that thought ahead of others, and they started creating solutions. They started creating solutions before the problem, became unbearable, and that led to another era. What was the era? Then it moved to the money revolution, bringing in the advent of banks and financial institutions. Yes, then money revolution, then people started creating banks. And when money revolution came, some people say, okay, people want to keep their money. Do you see the way generation and life was advancing? The people need to keep their money, this and that. Banks, financial institutions started coming up, and those who started it first entered wealth. As at the time of money revolution and financial institution, those who were industrialists, yes, they will still be doing well, but not compared to those, because they are the main people in the now. Yes, the bankers, those who created financial institutions, and the like. Then after that, what happened? Then the computer age in the last century. This was why there is nobody I know today. There's nobody I know today. I mean, this is 2025. About 25, 30 years ago, the computers, gadgets, everything we have, internet. It was not really, especially here in Africa. Yeah, it has really started back then in the West, but it is not as rampant as we have it now in Africa. But the last 20, 15 years, a couple of young people, one way or the other, they just had an idea that a time is coming. Anybody who knows or who is doing well or who does well with computer, who is a computer literate. Back then when many of us left secondary school, we just learned, is it correct draw, what else, there's this thing, we desktop publishing, we learned those, but I mean, all those primary school stuff. But some people really learned it. I have a friend who is a software, he's a software developer, software hacker. Those are the ones that if you're watching and that's your line, the language hacker, those who learn the nitty gritty of computerization. There's nobody, and even graphic designer, web designer, those who really learned it 10, 15 years ago, they are doing extremely well today. The money is not their problem. But even as we speak now, if you want to go and maybe you just want to go and learn graphic design, you have to go extra mile because there are a lot of AI platforms, apps, that and give you wonderful design. But there was a time, you even as we speak, yes, there are a couple of designs that you still need people in that niche, but I'm just saying the demand has reduced, but there was a time. There's nothing like AI, there's most of these platforms do not exist. You really really need these people. So those who saw into the future and you know they clicked and tapped into it, they are doing well now. Now, this is the point. In the next 10 years, the world is drifting into another angle. Here's my question for you if you're watching this. Do you know that angle that the world is drifting into? Because very soon, most of the things we need, there are a couple of jobs that AI has taken over. Yes, a couple of jobs. A couple of jobs is just in 10, what am I saying? In 30 seconds, what humans used to do before, AI brings it up. I mean, there are electric cars now that doesn't need drivers. Yes, they drive themselves. See, a lot is coming, so we have to be futuristic. We have to be futuristic. So they saw ahead. That was what would control wealth today. But as we speak, AI is taking over, like I said, a lot of things, and it has been discovered that those who master how to catch now, based on research, those that will be having dominion, especially financially, in the next decade, are those who have mastered how to catch or attract people's attention or anything. Those who have mastered how to catch or attract people's attention on anything, they are the one that will rule the next decade. This is why money, energy, attention, and time are currently the four most prominent currencies in the world today. Money, energy, attention, and time. Attention is in fact the costliest currency in the world today. Everybody is online. Everybody wants people's attention. I mean, 10, 15 years ago, not all social media platforms are paying. But today, all social media platforms are paying people. Facebook is paying people. Why? What is it paying them for? It's paying them for their ability to catch other people's attention. Yes. Now, this is why the number of followers you have now matters. The number of likes, the number of engagement you have now matters. But I tell you the truth, this is one of the major things that will control the wealth of the next decade. Yes. And I'm going to shock you with the third point now. Now, the third thing you need to do to, have your own dominion is discover the fatness and dew of heaven on your life. Discover the fatness and dew of heaven on your life and digitalize it. That is where I'm going. It is very important now. Discover the fatness and dew of heaven on your life and digitalize it. As we speak, there are many lawyers on social media teaching people about law on Facebook. Eating Facebook money. Lawyers, what are lawyers doing on Facebook? I pity many Christians. Discover your area of gifting and digitalize it. You have a calling, you have a ministry, anything. I mean, for example, Facebook is a free school, it's a free institution. Tell me anything you want to learn that you know self Facebook. How to fry, how to plait your hair. Some people were futuristic. They felt a time is coming, people will come here to search for how to do this thing. Those things that doesn't really make sense. How to tie your scarf. Somebody has a Facebook channel, I mean a YouTube channel. That is the only thing he does. You will go there and watch, and he gets dollars every month. And these things are, I mean, there are things that we don't value before. But the trajectory and the path, the trend the world is following, especially in the next decade, those who can catch people's attention in whatever they do. I was watching a YouTube masterclass, was it not last some couple of days ago, and a mathematics teacher has earned millions of naira, if not dollars, just by teaching mathematics on YouTube. Before, they were confined to the classroom. And I'm very sure there could be millions of people who are better than that man, who will just be teaching, and they will not even give them their salary on time. They'll be saying, God, where is your face? And God is saying, Shebi, you didn't know what you're supposed to know. You don't know the trend, the trajectory the world is following. A lot of people are sitting down their gift. Anything you are doing, of course, you have to master it, but digitalize it. This is not a matter of, I don't want to be, you shouldn't be like that, I'm looking for popularity. This is the trend. This is where our world is. I tell people, tell me anybody you call celebrity or that you celebrate. How do you get to know about them? Is it not through being the social media platforms? If they didn't put themselves there, they could have been somewhere else. And the truth of the matter is, there are a couple of people who are better than these people, but nobody knows them because they have refused to digitalize what they are doing. And many who have even gone digital, they don't know anything. They just did anything. They don't know the value. In the next 10 years from now, as we speak, it is those who master the act of catching people's attention anyway, anyhow, on anything. Of course, as Christian, we are talking about positive things. Yes, positive things that will rule the world. That will rule the world. And let me tell you, as time goes by, the social media space is getting more competitive. We have more, if are those who even have no business with content creating, everybody wants to create content now. Though a lot of people are just watching there because of the money. But you have to give value to, you have to be authentic, you have to be original. This is what I'm saying. Discover your area of fatness. What is your gift? What is your calling? What is your talent? After discovering it, digitalize it. A lot of policemen have TikTok accounts, earning dollars every month. Even here in Nigeria, digitalizing it, telling people about criminal, yeah, the things they need to know, codes of conduct, this and that. Lawyers, I've told them about lawyers. Just name it. Who would have believed who were comedians before? Most people in the comedy industry, they don't go to school. But look at them today. Earning billions, landing deals, doing adverts. The power of digitalization. This is the next trend where people perish for lack of knowledge. I could remember then, for example, when talking about the computerization stuff about 10, 15 years ago. I know a couple of people who were into these things. They were not making anything. People look at them, they were poor. But today, they're millionaires. Yes, young people doing well in millions. So what they started early there is now paying them today. So those who by any means have gotten to know this secret that in the next decade, digitalizing anything you are doing and being able to catch and retain people's attention is one of the major means to wealth. You may look at them today as they are wasting their time, they don't know what they are doing, oh, they are looking for fame. Just stay there. I'm sure you should know that Pastor Dereze is the highest paid YouTuber. Is it not I mean, maybe in terms of ministry in Nigeria, billions. He has earned over $7 billion. It's doing ministry. Digitalizing is calling. Just sit there and they say, I'm saying that, this and that, this and that, this and that. So what are you doing? If you're a tailor, you're a seamstress, digitalize it. Because after all, you help some people to solve their problem. You're giving that value. That is the next trend. That's the next trend. The principles of dominion. Knowing what is invoke in your time and dispensation and doing it legitimately. Many times we Christians we get to know these things when the whole world, when the unbelievers, they've rushed there, they've mastered it, and there's little or no space. That is when it's as if we just wake up and we are just trying to rush things. And even by the time we are there, our presence is not being felt. So this has to do with your God-given potentials, your calling, your gift, your talent, your ministry, your passion, and so on. Today, doctors, lawyers, and even policemen are now using their knowledge to create content online. There's a doctor called Apoko Doctor. Is it Apoko Doctor? Yes, you'll be Apoko Doctor. That speak pidgin, teaching people about their health, about what medicine says, medical science says about their health. He's a content creator earning thousands of dollars on his content creation. You could have sat down in one hospital and be carrying placard when the government refuses to pay them, just like many do, or should be looking for a way to relocate to avoid for a greener pasture. The power of digitalizing what you do. And the interesting thing is there's space for everyone. Yeah, there's space for everyone because all these platforms are competing with each other and they're looking for more creators. But of course, you have to be valuable. You have to be valuable. So, uh, this is very important. Make sure you have a strong online presence before exiting your fourth decade if you will have a voice in your generation. Tell me anybody you admire, anybody you look up to, anybody you like their post, those people you call celebrities. What makes them special? Why do you admire them? If any of your celebrities in any field of life passes through your street, you will be among those. You will just be happy because you are seeing it. What's the big deal about he or she? Is human being, you are human being. Probably you are even more educated or exposed or whatever than he or she. But because you often see he or she on Facebook, Twitter, TikTok, and then maybe you watch them on TV, to you, you think they are superwoman. What you two could have done. Yes, what you could have done. So, and tell me anybody you admire, you love, you follow daily. There's no difference. The only difference between you and them is they digitalize what they are doing. Of course, they are doing it well, and you just felt God has created you to die, maybe in your whatever, maybe the way you are. You just say, okay, well, things will be good. So make sure before you exit your fourth decade, that means before you turn 50, do well to have a good online presence in whatever you do. Without that, I can tell you, you won't have a voice in your generation. What does it mean to have a voice in your generation? For example, let's say someone like Apostle Joshua Sema say something now. Virtually, whatever he says, we get to every nook and cranny of the world. Why? He has a voice. And what do you mean literally that he has a voice? What he says, we get across to as many different, people in different part of the world. Why? Because he has been consistent. People have known him to be a person of value. If the president, for example, here in my country, Nigeria, today is Tuesday, yesterday was Monday, and yesterday was when we had, okay, it was on Sunday that we got the news that former President Buhari died. And the president yesterday said, today is public holiday. And between that few hours, he said it everywhere in the world, in Nigeria, had the news. Why? You imagine you say something where you are now. How many people will hear it? The power of so if you have a voice, what a voice means, you say something and it get across to people in different parts of the world. You can't joke with digitalization. If Jesus were to be in the world today, he wouldn't joke with digitalization. Yes. So before you exit your fourth floor, which is the age of 40, start paying attention to digitalization. Have a strong online presence in what you do. I see a lot of people, I made a post on it on Facebook recently. They just copy post, copy this and that. Yes, there's a place for fair, use of other people's content for this, the sake of education and the likes. But there should be something you are known for. You should be original. There should be the value you bring to the table. You can't just be copy, 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 copy. I said it. Look at any gathering in the world where great people are seated. You don't see copycat there. You only see people, in their originalities. People who come up with their original and their authenticities. They are the people you see sitting down there. You tell the CEO of this, he's not copying anybody. He's using his brain to run his company or create a product or service. He's unique. So digitalize your uniqueness, your selling point to your generation. If you will have a voice, if you will have a voice, that's one of the great principles of dominion. So, uh, you know, there's a story of when I launched my first book. The chairman of the book launch told us a story while he was preaching. He said he was sent away from school at the age of when he was young. I was in primary four because he couldn't pay his school fees. And he said he sat down I think at the entrance of the class, and the spirit told him, "Do you know you are meant to be an accountant?" Do you know that fast forward to when he finished secondary school, he waited 12 years before getting an admission into the Polytechnic? 12 years. 12 years. And he still went ahead to study what that spirit told him when he was sent out of class when he was in primary four. And today, he's a chartered accountant and a multi-millionaire. What am I trying to say? Discover your area of fatness and digitalize it. Then you have dominion. Don't forget, when we started, it says, "For when you have, when you have dominion, you will break the yoke." So these things I'm telling you are the paths to dominion, because when you have dominion, all the things that transpired in Genesis, some of which is still affecting some of our geographical location in the world, and to some extent, even you're going to break it. So that's why you should pay attention to these things. Then number four, we have dedicate a minimum of 5 to 10 years or 10,000 hours to learn everything there is in that line or field. Acclimatize yourself with the current and future trend in that space, and 5 to 10 years to execute everything you have learned. This is why it is good to start the journey of purpose early. Dedicate 5 to 10 years to learn everything. Let's say you want to learn how to sweep. Basically, now how to sweep. That is what you want to. You've discovered that you have a passion for sweeping. Dedicate 5 to 10 years to learn everything about sweeping. Get everything. You know Abraham Lincoln. He was a lawyer, but he wasn't tutored in any institution. He's tutored himself, self-tutored himself by getting books and reading it. What do you want to do? What are you called to do? Learn everything about it. A minimum of 5 to 10 years. Now spend 5 to 10 years to execute it, and wait if you don't have a voice. Because it's not possible you are one of the best or the best in what you do and you don't have a voice. You'll be recognized. People will discover it. Yeah, it's very important. And like I said, this is a minimum of 10 years and a maximum of 20 years. That is another thing. You know, one of these comedy skit maker, William, he recently celebrated 20 years on stage. Many people just want to blow overnight. It's going to take time before a generation will know that there's somebody here that does valuable things. Do you know how many people doing what you are doing? And you just think something will just happen. In fact, most of the people that they will just say rose to fame, for example, look at musicians like BBO, people who know them have tested, but they have been singing for long, for years. It's because they are consistent. Yes, but at the time they had fame, that was when you got to know them. But they didn't just rise that overnight. They have been there for years. For years they've been there. And that's what we call track record. So start early now. Start early. Be doing that thing. Yes, invest, learn about it. Learn about it and execute it. So you have a minimum of 10 years. So can you say that acquiring dominion is not a child's play? It's not for the faint-hearted. It's not for the lazy person. It's a journey of years. Tell me any great man you know. You will see that they didn't just start overnight. Just like the popular saying goes, Rome was not built in a day. So the fifth one is this: don't run away from service. As you rise in your journey to dominion in life, because service unto God and man is a ladder you must climb. If you don't want to serve anyone, you may never experience dominion. And if you serve faithfully, your own throne will be given to you. You can't escape service. Look at this scripture on the screen. Luke 16:10. It says, "He that is faithful in that which is least is faithful also in much, and he that is unjust in that which is in that in the least is unjust also in much." Now Luke 16 verse 11. It says, "If therefore you have not been faithful in the unrighteous mammon, who will commit to your trust through riches?" Verse 12 says, "And if ye have not been faithful in that which is another man's, who shall give you that which is your own?" They put you somewhere to serve in your place of work. There's problem. You are not faithful. You say, "I will leave this place. I'm going to start my own." Who will give you your own? Think God is a fool? You cannot attain dominion without service. One of the things that give me joy through the grace of God is I served and I'm still serving. I love to serve. Yes, there's this balance we say here that if you are too big to serve, you are too small to lead. See, don't think anybody is lucky. Yes, a couple of people might be privileged. Maybe they have some antecedent or parents who have worked things for them. But for some people, that's why people like Apostle Joshua, same Apostle Romeo, I respect them so much because yes, they honored graces and the likes, but they didn't see any shoulder to lean on in the ministry. They started out from the scratch. They were rugged. They were not lucky. They paid the price. They paid the price. There are records of how they started. Yes, the couple of ministry and there were maybe the son takes over when the father is gone. And even at that, some of them still served. But you can't compare it to somebody that had nothing, that has started from the scratch. What am I trying to say? Don't just say, this person is lucky. Do you know their story? Do you know where they have served? As a matter of fact, anybody who never served anybody or never goes through anything is dangerous. In fact, don't trust in their success or prosperity. Yes, track record is very, very important. We have it all there in the scriptures. Where did you rise? Who are those who know you when you were rising? Where have you served? Yes, where have you served? Who are those who raised you? It's very important. Just like you have biological fathers, you should have spiritual fathers. You should have people that tutored you, people you served under. It is important. It's the path, to greatness. So if you have not been faithful in that which is another man's, who shall give you that which is your own? Who will give you? Is it God? Is it the universe, the cosmos that follows principle? Who will give you your own? Okay, will you want to be the boss and you want people to serve under you to say yes, sir? Who do you serve under? Who do you say yes, sir to? So this is very, very important. Very important. The sixth point is this: exercise dominion in that fatness and deal. Master it like mad, like we say in Nigeria. That area of your gifting and whatever, exercise dominion in it. Master it, like we say in Nigeria. Say like mad. It means you should know it like even if you are sleeping and they woke you up and say, come and do this thing, you should be able to do it. To the extent that people would beg you for your service, and at times you won't still be available because your service has been secured by a higher purchaser. Yes, you should know that thing to the extent that people will want to pay you for it. And at times you are so occupied, you've been booked, and you say, please, will you be chance, maybe for a program on the 17th or let's say on the 20th of maybe November. And you go through your schedule, you say, I'm sorry, I have three programs already. And say, can you make it? Say, I can't make it. Why, when somebody has three programs, why are you still insisting that it's that person? I didn't know that people, because he has mastered it. This is how to get dominion and to break the yoke of servitude, whatever you do. See, after a man who is diligent in what he does, he shall stand before kings and not mere men. Yes, he shall stand before kings and not mere men. Now, the seventh thing is this: build a defense through sacrificial giving to God and the less privileged. You see that in the book of Job, chapter 29, what I'm going to share with us. Job, chapter 29, verse 1 told us that Job was, if Job chapter 1, if you read Job chapter 1, yes, from verse 1 to 4 or 5, told us that Job was the richest man in the East. Yes, he was the richest man in the East. So here comes the question, because this secret of great men are in their story. So how was Job able to become the richest man in the East? We need to make some research. We need to find out. So in Job chapter 29, he himself now told us the secret how he became the wealthiest man. So the seventh secret of dominion, principle of dominion, is build a defense through sacrificial giving. Yes, you will recall that when the devil was having a conversation with God, he told God that we have tried to attack Job now. What's the big deal? We would have killed him. But we noticed that you have built an edge round about him. That's why we couldn't. So let's see how Job was able to have that edge. How what the things he did. So let's see it. Job 29 verse 4 now. Look at what it says. As I was in the days of my youth, when the secret of God was upon my tabernacle. So the first thing Job is saying, yes, I had the access to the secret, the principles of dominion that God uses to run the universe. And when was the time in his life when he got access? Who can tell me? As I was in the days of my youth. Hey, the youthful season is very powerful. Fail and make mistake when you are in youth, you still have the time. There won't be a lot of consequence. The consequence will be minimal because you are still young, you still have the time to recover, the time to learn, to make mistakes. I've made many mistakes in my life. I'm not perfect, but one of the advantages I have is I'm still quite young. Yes, I'm not very young that though, but at least I'm just starting. That's why many times I tell people close to me, I don't give them to pressure. What is pursuing me? Come on, at what age? What is pursuing me? As I was in the days of my youth, the days of your youth is when you should acquire the secret God uses to run the universe. When the secret of God, the secret of Almighty God, when they say something, here in my place, they say, show us the secret now. If I share it or why now? Which secret are you using? So the secret that God, that made God the Almighty, Job had access to it. How will they not become the wealthiest man in the East? And these are the secrets I've been sharing with you. These 7 secrets will give you dominion in your sphere uh, you know of influence, the sphere you've chosen, where you have your calling, your ministry, your gifting, your talent. These things will grant you dominion. As I was in the days of my youth, when the secret of God was upon my tabernacle. And look at the next verse. It says, when the ear had me, Job 29 verse 11, when the ear had me, then it blessed me. And when the eyes saw me, it gave witness to me. Verse 12, look at what it says. Now, why were they blessing me? Because I delivered the poor that cried. I delivered the poor that cried, and the fatherless, and him that had none to help him. The next verse says, the blessing of him that was ready to perish came upon me. Job was a generous giver that gave to widows, people who were dying, people who they would have died of hunger. So, as I time he blessed them, those people will now say, God, this man that blessed us, no evil must before him. Their blessing came upon me. And I caused the widow's heart to sing for joy. The widow whose husband was dead and had no hope, nobody to fend for him, their heart rejoiced for joy. Verse 15 says, I was the eyes to the blind, and feet was I to the lame. Verse 16 says, I was a father to the poor, and the cause which I knew not, I searched out. This was the secret of the wealthiest man in the East in his days. Oh my goodness. This was the secret. So as the Lord began to bless you, and this is why I just speak to a lot of people who just speak and they show their level of ignorance. Some people cannot come down again. See, this is what we finish. See, most of those men of God, either they preach the right thing, they cannot come down. You know how many widows they are feeding. Even some people will go and do diabolical, they'll go diabolical to get money, but they'll still be given to widows. Those prayers will still sustain them. When they die, they will go to hell. Yes, fine. But in this world, it's a secret. It's a secret. It's a secret. So when the secret of God. So this was the secret of Job. Unfortunately, many people read, and Job was the wealthiest, and his daughters were beautiful. See, what transpired between God and the devil, Job was not aware. All the calamity, it wasn't Job's fault. God and the devil were just trying to prove a point, and the point was proven at the end of the day. But I didn't mean that didn't transpire. Even at that, Job still had all his wealth restored. Is it not fourfold or twice, double fold, and he lived to see his fourth generation. He lived to see his fourth generation. But here he's telling us the secret of his wealth. He was a generous giver. And that still brings us back to the greatest thing that has influenced the generation of man, which is blessing and cursing. So Job was given to the less privileged, to the widow, to the fatherless, and the blessing of all these people were coming on him. Please don't joke with blessing. Anything that will bring blessing to you, blessing from the young, blessing from the old, blessing from your leaders, blessing from your spiritual fathers, blessing from your parents. Don't joke with anything that will cause anybody to say God bless you, or that will just cause them to pray for you. On the contrary, run from anything that can make somebody to be annoyed or say he wants to curse you or speak wrong word. Even if your prayer will still erase it or nullify it, you will still have to go to do this. Blessing, the more blessed a man is, the more blessings released on a man, the more dominion is going to have. Japheth was blessed, Shem was blessed, and that is why they are the enlarged races, which I spoke extensively on in the first episode. Canaan was cursed, Yeah, Canaan, the son of Ham, was cursed. And inside the Africans, I showed us last week, most of those places, they are descendants of Africans. What's it called? Jacob, yes, Jacob was blessed and Isaac was cursed. Yes, of course, but as at the time they met, Isaac had possessions and the like. But what happens to the land that had the fatness of the earth, which is Africa, that has most resources? Look at Africa today. Look at how we are suffering. Look at how we are suffering. So there are only two races, the white race and the black race. One was blessed and the other was cursed. So the summary of all is this: blessing brings dominion and curses brings servitude. So as a young person, do everything to attract blessing. Start thinking practically, what can I begin to do that will bring blessing on me? And there are certain strategic people that must pronounce those blessings. Your parents are there, your anybody God has placed as a head over you, your spiritual leaders, your parents, your spiritual leaders, or some, those who are representative of God, elderly people, you know, aged people, and every other person that you can do good to, that will release the less privileged, yes, widows and the like, orphans. There's something in your house that the less privileged needs. By the time those people say, God, I wouldn't have eaten tonight if not for so person, bless him. You will not go down. So after you've made all those money, this is why people like Bill Gates, they cannot go down, because 90% of their wealth they will it to privilege, the orphanage, they give it to charity. How will they go down? It's the secret of God Himself. In the days of my youth, when the secret of the Almighty was upon my tabernacle. So these are the principles of dominion. These are the principles of dominion. These are the seven principles of dominion. So let me quickly round up. Let me round up. Let me round up. So if you can execute all the above seven principles with time, none of the initially mentioned problems of life like money, fame, or even power will be your challenge again. Don't be deceived. Vigorous learning and spending precede vigorous earning. If you can execute all the seven principles of dominion, it's just a matter of time. Yes, you're gonna have dominion. And once you have dominion, servitude ends. And don't be deceived. Vigorous learning precede earning. Many of us want to earn, but what have you learned? How much are you investing in R&D, research and development? Okay, fine. You don't even have money. What do you watch on Facebook? What do you watch on YouTube? Anytime on YouTube, you're watching comedy, you laugh. You just click. You cannot watch. If on this YouTube, I have videos I have not watched on tech, downloaded on tech, on AI, metaverse, things that will equip me. I have many of them. There's a movie one of my financial mentor, advised us to watch. What's the name of that movie? I can't remember. If you need it, you can type in the comment section. I'll check it and drop it. That I have downloaded, I have not even watched it. Things that will change you. Okay, you don't even have money, but the data you have, you just watch comedy, you watch it to watch some things that it doesn't add anything to you. I want to have dominion. You'll be the first to have it. I'm just being realistic with you. I'm just being realistic with you. So vigorous learning and spending precede vigorous earning, and that you can never break the bone of poverty if you are the first in your generation without long-term investment and goals. You didn't inherit wealth, your parents are not that wealthy, and if you want to be the first to break it, it won't happen overnight. You will need long-term investment and goals to break the backbone of poverty. But many of us, there's one scheme here, there's one sense of that. You put your money there. I have done it before. Yes, I've done it. That's why I said, as a young person, you still have time to recover. I done it. My eyes came down. It's not a funny matter, but I've learned. That's the way we learn. That's the way we learn. That's the way we learn. You want to break the backbone of poverty? Anything that will pay you, you must work. Yes, you would work for it. And pay 20,000 to get 40,000. Don't worry now. The thing will switch you. You now put all your life savings. You just close it. You heard of the recent one? Is it CBEX or what did they call it? I don't blame anybody because I had my own share and I learned. Yeah, I learned. I was listening to about Fabulous too. One of his videos where he said, it was the day you remember he was duped. He was just hearing the body. I think it's an inevitable experience anyway. So, but you want to break the backbone of poverty, and you are the type that you lack patience. You just want things to just change overnight. You don't want to involve in long time investment and goals. You cannot break the backbone of poverty. It's not possible. So, um, where was I? So if you're yes, like I said, that lack of this truth is why many would die poor. Building true wealth take principles, patience, and time. So lastly, there's nobody in any field of life doing well today that wouldn't have subscribed or lived by a minimum of 5 or 6 of the above principles that I gave. There's nobody doing well in life. No. That would not live with a minimum of 5 or 6 of this principle. But unfortunately, many of us desire greatness, but we don't want to study greatness. This is why you are expected to have discovered where you are going in your 20s and master it in your 30s, because 40 years and above are the years of legacy and mentoring the next generation. Talking about the 6 phases of life, the age 1 to 7 is the formative years. I've forgotten the impressionability stage of life. Then age 8 to 12 is the logic and reasoning phase of life. These are the stage where children start asking their parent question, "Mom, why should I do this?" They're trying to reason out life. Then the age 13 to 19 is the emotive phase of life, the teenage phase of life, where a lot of emotions are running. Estrogen is high, testosterone is high, and youth just love. I mean, these things love flashly things. They want to explore sex. They want to be free. They don't like their parents to just be saying, "Sit down there, like what's going on here?" Come on. So it's the emotive phase of life, and failure to maximize a phase affect the next phase. Then after that, we have the discovery phase of life. Your 20s is your discovery phase of life. I made a post on Facebook recently. I said, in your 20s, discover what you are willing to die for. That this part is what I'm ready to die for it. And learn everything about it. Like I said, for the next 5, 10 years, that thing, learn everything about it. And the next 10 years, so that's your, let's say, maximum of 20, that should be 20 to 25 years or 30 years. Then within your 30 to 40, master it and execute it. Then from your 50s upward, 40 upward, then you start mentoring the next generation. By that time, you can't do this thing and you'll not be a voice. Then I don't have money, I'm not known, I'm having challenges, will not be your problem, because you have observed principles. You can't break principles, principles will rather break you. That's the truth of the matter. Principles will rather break you. So age 20 is the discovery phase of life. Imagine someone who has exited the age 20 to 29 and is now in his or 30s, and he or she has not even discovered himself. He has not discovered himself. So how would such person, when you have not even discovered, how do you want to establish yourself? Because age 30 is the phase of establishment. You make the world know that I am here. When you're looking for anybody in a particular field, or this field, me, I'm here in this field. I'm a voice and not an echo in this field, in ministry, in art and entertainment, in medicine, in this, your area. People should be able to know, okay, no, we know this person. He has a value you can offer. There's something you can do and do well in this field. That is when it happens at the age of 30. So how old are you? And the age of 40 is the age of legacy. So let's quickly round up. This has been a long session. So this is what the Lord has for us in this episode. And then this is why um, if you're still gallivanting from one job to the other, business, trade, profession, like career in your late 20s or 30s, you're not ready for what we are saying. Maybe today you work for 2 years in this career, you switch career again. They say, this career is paying money, you go and learn it again. You learn how, you switch it again. You say, this one again, you go and learn it, you switch it again. You are not ready for dominion. No. Everybody had exercising dominion. They were known for something. They stayed at it. I remember Pastor Samadiemi, he said many years ago when I was just starting in the 90s, he said, "Lord, I'm not prospering. I'm not doing it." The Lord said, "You should go to radios, televisions, radio station, and you should should start teaching people about success." And he said, "They asked, they said, God, I'm not successful. Yes, it's not most of these things I'm saying that I've really attained or mastered, but I'm in the process, and I knew a couple of things about it. Yes." So he said, "God, I'm not successful." He said, "I should be teaching people about success." I'm sure a couple of people mock him like, "Look at this guy. Maybe you don't even have a car and you're talking about success. Are you serious? What about today? It started early. So don't allow any people to despise you. Ah, what is it teaching? It's teaching. What is teaching? We don't even see it in his life. Just keep at it. It's a matter of time. God told Habakkuk, we said, write down the vision for an appointed time, that he who sees it might run with it, and the vision will speak for itself. So please share this with others. Like and drop a wonderful comment, and so that others can learn from this. Like I've told some people, this message will not always be public. Yes, it will not always be available. So if you come across this, please do the needful with it. So God bless you for joining. So do well. You can check the links in my welcome page here on YouTube, to follow me on my other social media platforms, and of course you can also follow our revamp channel on WhatsApp, and we also have a group. You see the link to join also here on YouTube. Tell others about the next episode. By the grace of God, we'll be having our next episode come the first Tuesday in August. I can't remember the date specifically now, but the first Tuesday in August, we'll be having our next episode. And then, if you're getting to know me for the first time, I'm Shola Bademo. By the grace of God, I'm young, I'm bold, I'm courageous, and I'm doing what I do uh, to help others become a better version of themselves. There are a lot of messages here on this channel that is going to bless and blow your mind. Do well to go to this channel. So if you are new and you see me for the first time, of course, do well to subscribe, and God bless you as you do that. Also, if you want to get a couple of any of my books, where I have the soft copy on sale, you see the link here in the my channel description. Just click on it and you'll be blessed. So thank you very much, and God bless you. This will be the end of this podcast. See you some other time. Recently, I'm thinking of just coming up with some random live session. Just some random live session where I'll be talking about relationship and marriage issues. So till then, God bless you. Bye for now, and have a good night rest. God bless you.